Hi, Baida. Thank you for joining us on Rise Positive Birth Stories.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Alaikum salam. I'm great. Thanks for coming. So you're going to be speaking to us about Aya's birth today, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you want to share the story? Just tell us as you like.
Oh, okay. So pretty straightforward pregnancy. I got pregnant very quickly. I know I'm one of the lucky ones. And then I was busy working, traveling, living my life. And then I was told that I might have a high chance or have a higher chance than my age group to have Down syndrome.
What was the indicator for that?
They measured the nukhal. It was the older tests where they measure the nukhal, and they also do some blood works. So at that time I was 32, but my risk, my actual risk was that of somebody who's 10 years older.
Okay.
So they said it was back in the days when they actually pricked the mom so they can do the amniocentesis. It was before the new 2 years before the test. So while before traveling, I agreed to do the test. And then I was on a world tour. I went to Russia, I went to Thailand. I was working in Thailand on a business trip. And when we arrived in Moscow, they called us and they said, "Do you want to know the results?"
From the
And
amnio.
of course, me and my husband were very nervous. Yeah, so we said, "Okay, you can tell us." And they said, "It's negative. She doesn't have Down syndrome." And of course, that was relief because we didn't know. We didn't know anything, and we were scared and we were worried. And I know that children with Down syndrome are a blessing, but at that time we were young and we didn't know how we could manage something like this. And we preferred to know so that we can prepare ourselves in terms of parenting. And that's another conversation. But I remember seeing a mom with a Down syndrome baby, and I asked her, I said, how would you parent differently? She said, the first 2 years is like any other baby. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, if I had really listened to what she had said, then I would have not done the amniocentesis. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it wouldn't have made a difference.
Invasive, and it wouldn't have made a difference, and it's stressful. And anyways, that's a little bit of background information. They said it was a girl, and even though we didn't want a gender reveal, but they said it was a girl. We got to Thailand. My husband and I did one of these lanterns by the beach.
Like that go up in the air?
Yeah, this was again a long time ago. This is 10 years ago or 11 years ago, before I knew that lanterns are not good for the environment and for the birds. So we did it, and then it flew, and we said okay, and we made a blessing, and we thought everything is going to be fine. Now, everything was okay. I was riding my bike to work. My life was normal. I was fit. I was much fitter than now, much younger. And I would go to the yoga, birth preparation and hypnosis, and Paul would come, and everything was fantastic. And then around end of 29 weeks, almost 30 weeks, my waters broke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It wasn't a slow leak, right? It meant like, because I've read the story in Birthing with Heart, but it wasn't a slow leak. You needed to properly go in, correct?
I peed myself. Yeah, it was a proper gush. And then and it continued. And then I went to the hospital. They sent me back and they said, "You're just panicking."
Oh.
They said, "You're just a first-time mom who doesn't know what she's doing." Literally.
Okay, wow.
The second time, and then I went to a beauty salon on a bike with ruptured membranes. As you would when your waters would break, you would go to the salon and get a Brazilian wax. Then while I was there, the beautician, again my waters leaked, and she's like, "Sweetie, I'm a mom of 2, and this is not your discharge or whatever your doctor is telling you. This is amniotic fluid."
Yeah.
So I started to panic, and I was like, you know what? Something inside me is telling me I'm not right, but the hospital doubted me, right? So they made me feel like I'm. You know how sometimes they do that. Anyways, so
yeah, I do.
Another conversation, right? And then I said, okay. Told my husband, I said, I'm going to leave my bike behind. This was in Amsterdam, by the way. He picked me up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then?
Luckily, I was done and I was waxed, so no problem.
Oh my gosh. But I feel like that's not the safest. I mean, you're not supposed to be really having anything in that area. after your
I
water's
didn't
break.
know. The doctors convinced me that I'm a paranoid mama.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So then what happened?
So I go to the hospital again. They send me back home.
You're kidding.
So I called the midwife and I explained to her, and the midwife told me, "You come to the clinic right now." And as soon as I entered the clinic, and she looked, and she's like, "I don't even need to test that. This is amniotic fluid." To the hospital. And because the Dutch give a lot of power to midwives, and the midwives are super respected and they're very important in obstetrics.
Amazing.
She picked up the phone and she went off at that doctor. I tell you, in Dutch, she was like, "Niet goed, niet goed," and I'm like, okay. And I'm trying not to panic. I wasn't in a good place, but I was trying to stay calm and just breathe and go with the flow and have some faith, you know. I arrived at the hospital and they said, "You stay in, you take 2 shots of steroids, and we keep you pregnant as long as you can be pregnant, or you keep yourself pregnant as long as you can."
The steroids are to help develop the lungs.
Yeah, exactly. In case some people might not know that. So yeah, the steroids help prepare the baby's body to breathe in case the baby is born within a certain time frame. And fast forward 2 weeks later, I got some rest, the baby started growing, my body continued to produce amniotic fluid because I was still leaking.
Okay.
She
So
grew.
at this point, did it become like a slow leak?
Yeah, the drips only, no gushing, because I don't walk. There's no gravity.
Okay.
I only go to the shower, and I used to sneak behind the midwives. Because if I go to the shower or the toilet, a midwife has to be with me. That was the policy.
Oh, okay. Just in case.
I'm like, I'm not showering with somebody around, and I'm definitely not going to use the toilet with somebody around. So I would go quietly, and I would tiptoe and go to the, and do my thing, and I remember that because I don't wash my hair every day. I have dry curly hair. I don't need to wash it every day. So the day that I'm washing my hair and I put my hands up and I kind of move more and stay longer in the shower, contractions come and they come pretty hard.
Okay.
I was able to cope with a lot of contractions through those 2 weeks, but I was overall stable, and I was able to continue to stay pregnant with Aya, and she was in very good condition. So they said to me, "We're gonna dismiss you," and I'm like, "Really? You can do that?" They said, "Yeah, we're gonna send you home, and we're gonna send the midwife to come in the morning and another midwife to come in the evening and check on you and the baby and make sure to run a CTG and make sure that you're okay." Can you believe that?
Yeah, amazing. Amazing to have that option.
And I said, okay. So guess what? I got excited. I started packing my books, my laptop, my lantern, my teddy bear, my whatever, And I said, okay, I'm gonna go home. And I went into full active labor right that minute. It was meant to be, you know what I mean?
Okay.
They took me, I think I don't remember how far, but I was already like past 4 centimeters. They said, "Sorry, there's no place in the hospital for the NICU. There's no beds. There's no incubators. It's full. We have to transfer you to another hospital."
Just stay there for 2 weeks.
And I'm like, no problem. And I said, "My husband will take me there." Like, "He certainly will not. The ambulance will take you."
Okay.
Just do it. No problem. So I ride in the ambulance in active labor, breathing through the turns and the driving and the bumps. But luckily there was a very sweet Dutch guy, very handsome, with really cool glasses, holding my hand. He was a paramedic, and he was like, "Don't worry, just breathe." And I'm like, "You have really nice glasses." And I remember saying that. I don't know, I was trying to take my focus, how we do, the breathing and the hypnosis, and you move away from what you're experiencing, not to make it take over you. I was trying to calm myself down, and I tend to do that naturally before my hypnobirthing, before everything, is I distract myself when I'm kind of feeling fear or panic or
okay stress. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Was your husband able to be with you in the ambulance for this ride?
Not a lot.
So it was just you and Mr. Glasses.
And Mr. Sexy Glasses, absolutely. And then I arrived at this hospital and they checked me, and then it became really, really medical. A little bit of background information as well. We had the only thing we planned for with Aya was a home water birth.
This is a far cry.
So the amniocentesis threw us off, and we never got that far. We hired a midwife. A private midwife.
Yep.
But we never because it was still early. We still had time, and we were traveling. We wanted to deal with it after the amniocentesis and decide. But we were probably going to go for a home birth and in the water, because I'm one of those people that loves floating, and I feel really safe and really calm in water. And it just sounded very appealing. And I was 5 minutes from the hospital, so transfer would have been, a piece of cake. So I think I would have been a very good candidate. And my husband also, he's very calm. So yeah, so I called my doula. And my doula had been supporting me and visiting me. And by the way, my original doula, Jennifer Walker, was in Canada because it was summer holidays and she was supposed to come back later. I gave birth in August. So she called in Jackie, South African midwife, Dutch. She is an amazing woman, herbalist, everything, acupuncturist, absolutely amazing. And Jennifer Walker, my initial doula, by the way, teaches with Gail Tully, and she's also a spinning babies instructor. She's a partner with me. I when it comes to care, I had the best care. Jennifer supported me throughout my pregnancy, and then when she wasn't there, Jackie stepped in, and Jackie was amazing. And we stayed in the room. So now let's move a little bit faster. We stayed in the room, and they said to me, pethidine. Let's get you in some pethidine and pump you up with pethidine to slow down. We don't want a premature baby. We want pethidine will slow down the surges.
Okay. I mean, a couple hours. What? Okay.
So I said no, because during the period I was in the hospital, I really researched a lot about vaginal delivery of a preterm baby.
Oh, okay, good. And what did you find?
I looked at photos of preterm babies. I looked at different pain management. I looked at medical births and interventions more deeply than I had before, because I knew that it's going to be a medical birth. There's no question.
Yeah.
What can I do into skin breastfeeding a preterm baby? I prepared those 2 weeks. Really, really made a huge difference. I learned a lot.
Oh, great.
So I said, okay. Yeah, I was very lucky. I said to Jackie, pethidine. I don't want pethidine. And you know what? I looked at Paul, I looked at Jackie, and I asked the team to step out so we can have a conversation.
Okay.
And
I love that. Can we just take a moment there? Like that you asked the other medical team to go out, and that is a right that every mom has.
Absolutely. I just said, give me a moment. This is too much. Just give me a moment.
Yeah, good for you.
That's what I did, because there was people monitoring me. They gave me a doula from the hospital.
Oh.
In the beginning, I was like, just get away. Who are you? Don't hold my legs. Don't hold my, because I have my doula and I liked my intimate team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In the end, she was amazing. But in the beginning, I was nervous and
got off guard a bit as well. You're not expecting it. Yeah.
And then the pediatrician was walking in, and the neonatal specialist was walking in, and everybody was telling me, and the anesthesiologist was explaining, and it was like, I just want to understand. And then I turned around and I told Jackie, I remember directing the conversation to her, and I remember not grabbing her, but almost like wanting to really, like, when you have a message, a secret that you want to give somebody.
Okay.
I remember just looking at her in her eyes, and she remembers my birth details still. And I told her, Jackie, there's nothing we can do. She's coming.
Okay.
And I said that to her. I felt it.
Oh, sweet.
So Jackie looks at me and she's like, Baida, are you sure? And I'm like, she's coming. She's not going back. And I said to Jackie, I swear I remember those words. I said, 2 weeks, no infection, baby growing, everything was fine. I said, this is her moment. I know it. I've never in my life had such a strong feeling about anything like that. I'm a very intuitive person, and I talk about that in the book that we published together, but nothing was as strong as that. I think that was the most maternal instinct, power, innate knowledge and knowing that I've never experienced anything like that. And I told Jackie, I said, there's nothing anybody can do. I don't want the drugs.
Okay.
she's probably going to have problems with breathing, because I read about pethidine, and especially pethidine with preterm babies. And as you know now, pethidine is no-go, and it's on the banned list of drugs in Saudi and in many countries. Anyways, so Jackie says, okay, let's have the baby. So because she's a herbalist and an acupuncturist, and she knows pressure points, and we worked together, I started being mobile. She gave me some herbs, and by the way, I was in labor. I was having contractions, but it was very erratic. I moved from place to place. My oxytocin got thrown off, so it slowed down automatically when I arrived in the second hospital. And I remember telling Jackie, let's have this baby while I still can.
Oh, what were you concerned about? What do you mean while you still can?
2 weeks in the hospital, contractions, stress, not sleeping, because all night I wasn't sleeping. I was feeling the surges. And I was like, now I have the energy. Now I can do it, Jackie. And she's like, okay. So she gave me, I think it was black cohosh, a very small dose.
Okay.
Tincture. And she massaged my foot and my toes. And we did meditation together. And Paul was with me, and we were dancing and walking. And 20 minutes later, exactly 20 minutes later, CTG picks up that the surges are very strong. The whole team walks back in and says, we're having this baby. There's nothing we can do about it, because it became very regular very quickly.
Okay.
And then it went on for 6 hours. Towards the end, my surges got really slowed down. So they gave me, for about half an hour or maybe less, Pitocin.
Oh, okay.
I was getting tired, so things didn't pick up. And all
Isn't
the
that
natural
interesting that the body just kind of stops, like, oh, she's tired, let her rest. Like.
But I heard that can happen with preterm babies, because they're not ready and they're not strong enough to help you help you birth. It's a tango, right? You need mommy and baby to dance together. He gave me Pitocin, and I wasn't happy about the Pitocin, as you wouldn't be. But I coped with it, and I remember describing, and I don't want to scare anybody who's watching this, but I remember when people tell me how was the experience of Pitocin for half an hour, and I totally sympathize with the moms who have it for an extended period. I said it's like drowning, coming out for water, and as soon as you come out for water, for air, you drown again.
Yeah, it floods the system. That's probably where that term comes from a bit.
It's not natural, and the body doesn't know how to cope sometimes with it. Some moms do amazing with hypnosis, and some moms are amazing, but I was like, I don't like this. And they slowed it down and they stopped it. They slowed it down, then they stopped it.
Okay.
Which is very rare. I'm telling you, the kind of care I had was phenomenal. And this is partly why I wanted to be a doula. If not the main reason why I became a doula, is because I was really taken care of. And then second stage, I was on my back. I don't know, I still don't remember why. I was upright. I was kind of in a seated position. I remember wanting to birth standing, but I remember. They couldn't pick up her heartbeat, so they needed to put one on her head. Yeah. And it kept coming out, and they went again. And poor thing, she still has a little scar on her head. And they said this is the best position to keep the monitor in.
Now so they wouldn't have to keep doing it.
Yeah, it was just something, and the doctor could see. And then she came out. They put her on my chest immediately, even though she was preterm. They didn't whisk her away. They kept her on for like 10 seconds.
Okay.
And she put her arms down, like pushed down, and lifted her shoulders and looked me in the eye like this.
No.
It was so amazing. I cried. In the beginning, I was thrown off. I was like, why is the baby staring at you? And she looked premature. She didn't look like like a full-grown baby. So big alien eyes, and small body but long.
Yeah.
So I cried so much, and I was like, oh, happiness. And then they took her away. They said, we're sorry, she has to go. And they took her and they checked on, and they kept talking to me and telling me what's going on.
Oh, was she in the room then with you still?
Yeah, they oxygenated her. They did everything there.
Okay.
And then they took her to the incubator to keep her in the incubator comfortable. So check this out. Jackie brought me food. She helped me shower, and the nurse came, or the midwife, I can't remember, went in the room with me. Oh, by the way, I have to give credit to my husband, who was 30 hours by my side. The whole fiasco was 30 hours, by the way, huh?
From the start at the hospital, packing your bag to go? Is that the...
From the other hospital, yeah, from Solotobart until St. Lucas Andreas, or is it the other way around? The names, yeah. Cool. So I basically, all night I was laboring. I think from when I arrived to the second hospital, the whole thing was 6-7 hours. So I've done the big parts in the other hospital. This is why they transferred me last minute.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood that. I thought you were packing your bag, and then at that time they said, let's go to the other hospital, but it was quite a while.
No, they said it took time to call the hospitals, find a place with an incubator. Maybe there was a lot of preterm babies at that time. I don't know.
Strange. Okay.
And by the way, these 2 hospitals were private. None of them were public. I chose private hospitals. I think because I still don't know. I don't remember why. I think because I wanted to bring my own midwife into the hospital or something like that. I can't remember. It's kind of vague. And then, so my husband was 30 hours. I don't remember him going to the toilet. I don't remember him eating. I don't remember him letting go. He was holding me. Not a single word. He was the calmest energy that I needed. Jackie was more like pumping me up and like my coach.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just there with this Zen energy. And when you ask him, and I teach childbirth classes, right? And I used to have groups of families in our house, and Paul would be either going in or going out when they're coming in or coming out of the house. And I always say, stop, say something about the birth of our first child. And he says, I don't remember. I was in a trance. Like, those are his words.
Really? How interesting.
I think oxytocin must have hit him hard. He was like over on oxytocin. But he was a very good energy to have. God bless him. He's an amazing, amazing partner, especially with birth. I was very proud of him, especially that it's our first baby. Where was I? Yeah. So after they fed me, they took me to shower. They said, "Do you want to eat?" I said, "I just want to eat a shower, and then I want to see my baby."
Yep.
I said, "I really, really need. Please, I really need a shower." And they said, "Okay." So they bathed me sitting down, which is amazing.
Okay.
It's like a Moroccan bath, or a Turkish bath, and it was so nice. And then I put on nice warm clothes, and my mom. By the way, I have to give credit to my mom, who was also a great force. She was really very spiritual during the birth. She's a spiritual person. She sat in the corner because she flew in from Kuwait when she knew that she flew in from New York. At the time she was in New York, she heard that my waters ruptured, so she came. So when I went into labor, luckily my mom was around, so it was really special. She was in the corner praying the whole time reading her Quran. It was really nice. It was really, I had the most amazing support, the medical wise, partner wise, doula wise, spiritual. It was really like a sacred. It was really, really something. I really pray that every mom deserves this kind of experience. It's really special. Even though it was medical
too, because you knew it was going to be so medical. Like, you knew you couldn't have your home birth. You knew because she was premature, you had to be in the hospital, and you still were able to make this environment for yourself. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Maybe I didn't just do it right there and then. Maybe the homework I did before, choosing the right doula, choosing the right midwife, preparing my husband as much as we were able to in that limited time that we had, because it was a preterm birth. But I think everything came together, and I believe in divine intervention. You also know I'm very spiritual in that sense. So. And then they said, "You want to see your baby?" I said, "Of course." So I get up and I want to walk. And like, no, you stay in bed. I'm like, what do you mean stay in bed? They push me in the bed, out of the room, into the corridors, to the NICU section. I think it was on the same floor.
Okay.
And then they opened the doors, or the big doors of the NICU, pushed the bed through, parked my bed next to the incubator, let me hold her hands.
Was it through one of those like tubes where you need to put your hands in the gloves?
No.
Okay.
It was an open incubator. She was preterm, but not that preterm. She She was a preterm baby. She wasn't an early preterm baby. She was relatively healthy. She just needed, I believe they gave her oxygen and fluids. That's it. And she had a feeding tube in her nose, and she had the oxygen tube. The feeding tube was for 10 days, and the oxygen was for 24 hours. She was breathing on her own within 24 hours.
Wow. At 32 weeks. That's amazing.
You know why? Because I declined pethidine.
Yeah. Yeah, good for you. It's almost scary. I mean, this is a bit off track, but it's almost scary the things that they learn afterwards. Like, oh, that was really quite dangerous.
Yeah, things take time. In medicine, it takes 10 to 10 years to discover the mistakes that we've made in the past.
Yeah, sometimes more than a generation.
I really did not want to be a scientific experiment. Especially knowing the risks already, you know? I don't want to be a guinea pig, not me, not my baby. So I'll give you a little bit more details. She fed okay. I had a lactation consultant. They let me hold her. They let me carry her. We did skin to skin for hours at a time. I think 12 hours a day on average.
Oh, amazing. Great.
Between me and my husband, not always me. I stayed in the hospital for 1 week and then they kicked me out. That was, I cried so much. It was very hard. I felt like I was abandoning my child. I'm gonna cry now. It was very hard. It was very hard to leave her. And I cried when I got to the house because I felt like I'm okay, I'm safe enough to be, but she's still behind. It's really being separated is not easy.
No. So then what's the arrangement at that point? Can you still spend 12 hours a day there?
I can spend the whole day there doing skin to skin, as long as I cleaned my hands, I did all the proper protocol, the hygiene wise, and as long as I'm feeding, and as long as I'm not hanging out, you know, and wasting the time of the nurses and the neonatal nurses. As long as I'm there to be with her, that's okay. So I did that for 3 weeks. The last week, she was good enough to be in a normal cot, just a normal cot. It's a unit next to the intensive care unit. It's kind of like where they supervise and they overlook the babies. They make sure that they're sleeping and coping and pooping and eating. Okay. They're keeping an eye, but it's not neonatal. It's like it's lower than ICU.
Okay, yeah. It's just a change in the level of care, I suppose.
Yeah, the intensity is different, exactly.
Yeah.
And during that time, just so you know, I mean, I love the Dutch. The last 3 days before she comes home, I'm allowed to stay in the hospital. Me and my husband alternate to get used to having a baby with us all night.
Oh,
so they booked us a room. They put the room with us, and they said, "Okay, now you can be a parent in the hospital setting in case that you struggle. We're around to help you."
Oh, that's brilliant! What a great idea!
Right? It's amazing. Inshallah, at the birth center, you can do something like that.
I mean, the birth center wouldn't be taking the higher risk cases like this, but it's definitely something we could try to promote.
It won't apply, of course.
Yeah.
A little bit of role modeling, not role modeling, a little bit of scenario planning and doing things your own. It's nice when the midwives empower the moms and just say, "Hey, you bathe your baby," instead of the model that we have in the Middle East. Let me take your baby. Let me, know you're doing it wrong. Let me show you how to feed, instead of like encouraging and letting people do things on their own.
Yeah, exactly. Even they'll take, depending on the hospital, they'll take the baby for the night so that you can sleep. It's like, okay, but then you get home and then what? Like, they don't know what to expect, how it goes, how frequently a baby wakes up. Yeah.
And we had a moment of, and then what? And we also asked the hospital for support, and Aya's pediatrician was really great. She cried a lot because her nervous system was not developed. And at that time, even though breastfeeding was successful, but I was supplementing with formula.
Okay.
I just could not keep up with I'm one of those women that I just want disclaimer, I'm one of those rare women whose body does not respond to the pump.
Okay. So you weren't able to extract the milk that way from a pump?
Not enough, not in the beginning. Not with distance, not with being separated. It was too complicated. And even Jackie had to come and do puncture and acupressure for me, so that when I'm at home, I produce more milk so I can take it to the hospital.
Yeah. Well, it's
Like,
all related.
let's have a letdown. The letdown would take forever. It
Yeah.
was really like difficult. And even though I had a hospital grade pump, I knew what to do, smelled the baby's clothes, I watched the videos, I did all of that. When she came home, I didn't need to pump anymore, so I started decreasing the formula, and then we went exclusive for a while until she was walking and talking. Yeah.
A while.
And then that's it. It was difficult. I had postnatal depression. It was a lot of factors. Yeah, it was hard. It was so hard. And I think that's part of why the baby was crying as well, because I wasn't well and I wasn't the baby, and that, and that's why the hospital intervened and helped us kind of calm and separate even. I know that's something that we don't advise, but they let me sleep one night. They said, you go sleep, you need sleep. And that changed the dynamic, and I slept really well. And then we were together, reunited. And it was a program called the Cry Baby program, because I was like desperate. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm depressed. I'm sad. I can't take care of baby.
Yeah.
And I want to say something. Christine was the psychologist at the time in the hospital. She saw us for a year, once a week for a year.
Wow.
Me and I got counseled for you. Towards the end, it was just me, or towards, like, in the beginning, it was me and my husband. We talked about everything. And I remember her saying, all that she said to me that stuck with me, and I still say it to moms, is, it's a simple sentence, and you know it, is she said, you are enough. That's it. Every time she said it, in the beginning of the session, at the end of the session, do you know that you are enough? And I only got it 1 year of me. It took me a year to process and to understand what it means to be enough as a mother. So I'm talking a lot. I'm telling you a lot of details, very specific details I've never told anybody before. I've never written it before. Yeah, thank you for listening. But what I want out of this is to let other people know that when you get support, you can do anything. As a mom, you can be the best version that you can be. And if you see people around you struggling, reach out to them, because the chances are there's no way that they've gotten this kind of support. With all the support I got, it was still hard.
Yep.
So I can only imagine. This is why I wanted to be a doula, because I want it to be less hard. I want it to be more enjoyable. I want people to transition into this supposedly natural progression of their lives gently. Why should it be so painful and difficult? It shouldn't be. It should be nice. Otherwise, why on earth would we do it, right? And repeat it? Why?
Yeah.
There is a joy in it that can be found with the right support. So that's my kind of tip.
It's very interesting. So overall, though, I mean, this is for a positive birth story experience. Are you saying then that the support is what made it that way for you, or that because you were able to still kind of make the calls as you went, that you were making the decisions? What about this whole, I mean, rather hard?
I think it's a combination. It's a combination. It was a positive experience because I got the support that I needed, but I didn't get the support I needed handed to me from above. I got it because I asked for it. I got it because I was privileged. We have to also underline the word privileged a few times, because I could afford a lactation consultant. I could afford this. Lactation consultant was part of the package and part of the hospital. By the way, can I just say something about one more thing about the Dutch? Oh, my Dutch family will be very proud to hear all the good things I say, because sometimes I complain. So when the baby's born, the Dutch government pays for a lady to come to your house for 10 days to 2 weeks to take care of you and clean up.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
And cook for you. And I chose mine to be a lactation consultant as well. Baida was her name, a redhead, tough lady. She used to come and be like, stand over my head, and I'm like pumping or carrying baby, and she takes Aya and she's like, you eat. I'm like, oh, okay. You sleep. And I would be like, no, I can walk the dog. You walk the dog and I take baby. She was so amazing. Hardly spoke I mean, she spoke English, but it wasn't fluent. But she was very militant, and it's what I needed. I needed somebody who, instead of somebody like my mom was always like, oh, you know, kind of getting emotional with me in the beginning. She couldn't stay there long. She left after the birth, but Bea put me in a structure. She reminded me that if you don't eat, you don't sleep, you don't shower, there's no point. There's no point. How are you going to be a mom?
Yeah.
You come first. Take care of you. Fill up your glass. You take care of others. And I think this is the part that a lot of moms, first-time moms, don't know how to do. They end up giving everything, and they have nothing. And they try to empty their power bank, and they're not. They're running on super low charge. So it's
which makes everything even more difficult, right? Like if you're running on empty, just everything gets also probably exaggerated as well sometimes. Like it's too much. It is too much.
And the fog never leaves. You know, you don't know what you're doing. But that's my birth story with Aya. I have 2 children, but Luke's story is another one that we can discuss another time. But this is the main story because it's my first time to be a mom, and also it's inspired me to be a doula. So I hope that I inspire others to think for themselves and make informed choices. And I thank you so much for your kind listening ear and your patience with me. And I really like talking to you always, Yasmin.
Oh, thank you. You did cover a lot already about how you prepared, but that's one of the questions, like what did you do specifically for your birth? Now, you did mention hypnobirthing, and as your first birth, how did you know what to look into? Where did you find your information? What led you down this track of where to even look?
That's a good question.
Especially while you were working full-time and traveling a lot, it sounded like.
I just wanted to be prepared, so I signed. So in prenatal yoga, I learned about hypnosis, and she started introducing to us hypnosis it was kind of partner sessions, yoga education. It was very nice, a weekly kind of, you can drop in and go and cover different topics. It was so relaxed. We worked with other moms, and it was really, And then of course, when I got pregnant, I started to inquire more. I connected with other Amsterdam mamas. And I've always been kind of like type that's a little bit more holistic. I like natural things. In general, I loved yoga. So it kind of automatically went, and I love meditation. So it kind of like, oh, I'm pregnant. I like yoga. I like meditation. Why don't I do prenatal yoga and meditation and hypnosis? It's kind of automatically.
Okay. When you were expecting a normal home birth, was there anything you were apprehensive about?
To be honest, I don't know why. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you can tell me. But I was apprehensive about being a parent. That was my biggest fear. Is what kind of mama I was going to be. That was like a huge one for me. To be honest, giving birth, I looked at it as a challenge and something exciting. Everything else I looked at as something that I could conquer. But being a parent, I had a lot of doubts in myself. Maybe because I had doubts in myself in general, and then it transgressed into doubts about parenting. I don't know. I'm a different person I was than I am now.
Yeah, of course. No matter what, you're going to be different. Even without having thought about it, you'll be different. Yeah.
You almost become a different person. Yeah, it's transforming.
What do you think helped you the most through your birth?
Faith.
Nice. Okay. And I love that moment of you really feeling like, nope, she's coming now. Like, leave me alone, more or less. Was there anything that surprised you about the experience?
How I was able to cope with 30 hours with no pain management. How I could run on very little sleep once the baby was home. You know what else? So I was surprised with? How you can, this is very important for moms, I hope, is how you can hide your depression very well from the people around you.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Put on your makeup, you look great, you have the nice stroller, you have the nice boots on, you look like a sexy mama, pushing the baby down the street, and you talk to other moms that have coffee, and everybody's lying to each other, telling each other they're fine when they're not fine.
Well, interesting.
Not everybody, but a big chunk. I mean, 1 in 3 women is a big number, right? Yeah.
Why do you think women do hide it? What was it for you? Why was it that you wanted to not share?
There was no shame. there was no space, and I think competition. I tried to talk to a couple of friends about it, but immediately they went into how good their babies sleep, how good their babies nursed, how immediately nobody was saying that it was difficult and it was hard and it was lonely and it was nobody wanted to open up. Everybody, and you know when you're in a group that everybody's in denial and pretending they're okay, so it becomes like a mass thing. Everybody is like hiding from everybody else, even though they were good close friends. Later on, after all this, like after a year or two, or with their second children, then we are more honest with each other.
Well, interesting. Okay. Thanks for giving that insight. Yeah. It's too bad that happens and we're not more honest about it. And do you think the conversation now, 11 years later, is still the same, or have we been speaking about it enough that women are being a little more open?
I can give you my input as a doula. So as a doula, I have seen the language on social media change in the last 7 years. That women in the past used to message me in private and talk about these things. Women clients and moms who are also my doula clients would, and especially in the Arab culture. And now people are posting on social media. They don't care, like, hey, I'm struggling with pregnancy depression, or I feel this, or I feel that. Women are talking to each other and telling each other it's tough. I think there's an awakening. There's a huge awakening about, in general, I think with humans, I think maybe COVID or before even COVID, that we're beginning to accept that we have emotions and we can talk about them. And I see that a big change in the masculine as well. The men are talking about their feelings. The husbands are telling other husbands that it's tough, that they don't know what to do, and they're concerned, and they're having conversations that I've never heard before, conversations that my husband did not have with me or with his friends in the past. So I see there's a shift. People are parenting and bearing babies is becoming the responsibility of the men as well, and people are talking about it. Women are talking to each other. Women are empowering each other more. Women are opening up to each other more. I think we're less in competition than we used to be. I think there's a shift.
Yeah, I feel that too. That's why I asked to see. I do see now, even in new mom chat groups and things like, oh, I'm struggling, or oh, baby's screaming all the time. Like there's more conversation and honesty around it. And maybe that's because we're not actually meeting in person at the moment, and everybody's just somebody on virtual platform at the moment.
Even though things are changing, but there's still a big amount of women who are struggling in silence on their own, and harming themselves and harming their babies. This is the reality. We can't sugarcoat it, unfortunately. Postnatal depression is real. Is real.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's end on a lighter note.
Okay, well, give us some advice then for moms. What do you want them to know?
I'm not going to tell you sleep when the baby sleeps, because that kind of advice is it's a common advice. It's sometimes unrealistic. It puts more pressure on women. I don't know if it's the right advice or not. Sometimes I tell my clients, I tell my friends, if you can sleep.
Yeah.
But don't sweat the small stuff.
Absolutely.
That's all I can say. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't focus on. You can't be a new mom and be your normal self, your regular self. You can't be both. You see, something's got to give. So you have to decide what's your priority. It's all about time management, and it's all about prioritizing. If you prioritize yourself, then your baby, and then if you have extra time to do other things, great. But when in my culture, when we say 40 days, the grave is open, it's true. Not from a physical point of view only, but also from psychological point of view, from a spiritual point of view, the grave is open. Yes. You have to take care of yourself and let others take care of you, and ask for help. Don't wait for people to offer, because most of the time people don't know. If you have good friends, they should be doing dishes. They should be arranging a meal train. Don't be trying to, like I did. What I did is I tried to serve them drinks and hors d'oeuvres and chocolates when they came to see the baby. What's going on? Don't do that. If they're your friends, they will be. And good friends know what you need. And make friends with moms, not only first-time moms. Make friends with second-time, third-time moms as well, not only first-time moms. because if it's, because you learn from each other and you get inspired, and you're more at ease and less competition sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. And then you notice all these things, like as a first-time mom, you think about all these weird little, like, do I need to buy this item? Is this necessary? Like, what if he's not in the structured pattern, And then, second-time moms will just be like, whatever, and that's refreshing.
Third-time moms, even more, whatever. I think.
Yeah. Oh, funny.
The joke, they see the third baby changes their own diapers. Never heard that before?
No, I can see it. I mean, I already had mine on the potties, so it's an infant. The next one's just gonna be,
They have to figure it out,
Get yourself over there somehow.
Yeah.
No, anyway. Well, thanks so much, Baida. It was lovely to hear your story and sharing all your wonderful advice and insights and experiences.
And tears.
Yes, and tears. Yeah, very sweet.
Okay. Thank you.